Hello, and thank you for joining me. And happy spring! The days are getting long, the flowers are in bloom, and the warm weather is appreciated by all. With the return of warmth and flowers comes the return of patio and balcony season. Today we are taking a look at cocktails and mocktails, but normally I focus on cooking, so if you are a first-time viewer, be sure to check out some of the other videos in the channel. When one thinks of springtime blooms, cherry blossoms are often at the top of that list. They are just so iconically springy, but with that iconicness comes brevity, which is part of the reason why from DC to Japan, you can find people lined up for a chance to get a photo of these delicate beauties. The flame that burns twice as bright burns only half as long, as they say. But what if there was a way besides taking a photo to hold on to that cherry blossom magic for a little while longer? Well, that is the business that we are up to today. I will show you how to make cherry blossom vodka and cherry blossom syrup and cherry blossom sugar. We'll then use those ingredients to make a couple different cocktails and one non-alcoholic drink, as well as discussing ideas for other ways to sneak that almond cherry flavor into your cooking. So let's get into it. First of all, we are going to need some cherry blossoms. Do a little research to make sure you've got the right thing, but as I understand it, as long as it isn't an ornamental cherry shrub, you are good. So if it's growing on a tree, fear not. And use your discretion when deciding which flowers to go for. Make sure to look out for signs in parks that might tell you such things are prohibited. And even when you find a place that is acceptable, don't be greedy. I like to try to take them towards the end of the cycle when the most glorious part of the show is mostly over. Lucky for me, I have a few trees on my street, and picking some won't hurt the tourism industry in my neighborhood. Once I've collected a decent amount, I head back inside and do a little trimming. Just use your scissors. It's really not too much work at all. Once we have our blossoms all trimmed up, we have many options. I will be focusing on 3. First, make a cherry blossom infused vodka. Vodka infusions can make anyone feel like a professional mixologist. Get yourself a reputable brand of vodka. Take a good couple handfuls of those cherry blossoms into a glass jar. Let's call it a packed cup or so. Now just pour vodka over those flowers, close the jar, and let it hang out in a cabinet for a couple of days. Now all you have to do is strain it, and you have yourself a cherry blossom infused vodka. You can use this technique for basically any botanical. Capture the spirit of any season with spirits. Second, let's make a cherry blossom syrup. I've got here about a pint of water, 500 milliliters, and I just bring that up to a simmer, kill the heat, and throw in another handful of cherry blossoms. Cover that up and let it hang out for about 15 minutes, and then I just strain it. I was honestly a little worried I had the wrong variety of cherry tree because the flowers didn't have much smell, but once they were steeped, that almond aroma was very prominent. Now making the syrup is very simple. Remember, 1 part sugar to 1 part liquid. So in this case, 1 cup of cherry water to 1 cup of sugar. Now we just get that on the stove and heat it up until the sugar dissolves, let it cool, and there you have it, cherry blossom syrup. Third, cherry blossom sugar. This is the simplest of the uses I'm showing today. Get a glass jar and some sugar, add some cherry blossoms, give it a shake, let it hang out for a couple of days. Now you have some sugar with a subtle almond flavor. Use your imagination for this one. but I think that with the delicate flavor, something simple is the best course of action. Maybe you could brush some sugar cookies with a little bit of our cherry blossom syrup, and then give them a little sprinkle of our infused sugar. Can't get much more simple than that. Let me know if you have any interesting ideas in the comments. And now that we have our homemade seasonal vodka and syrup, let's make a couple cocktails. Both are a play on the martini. Let's start with a very simple variation. I'm using a recipe for a vodka martini and simply replacing the regular vodka with our blossom vodka. Easy enough. First, get out your cocktail shaker or preferred mixing vessel. Then we get plenty of ice in there. Then we go in with 2.5 ounces of cherry blossom vodka, half an ounce of a nice dry vermouth. And even though this isn't a sweet drink, it's also not entirely classic, so I'm going to add just a little spoon of that blossom syrup we made. It should round things out a little bit. And speaking of which, I have here a few drops of a saline solution. That's what all the cool cocktail bars are doing these days. Then we just stir away until our shaker is quite cold. And then we strain into a chilled glass of our choice. I know it doesn't exactly fill this one out, but it's just such a nice glass. And there you have it for our riff on a vodka martini. I'm sipping it while checking out the trees where the flowers came from. It's definitely boozy, but clean with a clear amaretto flavor. Now on to the next cocktail. I found this recipe on a mixology website. It's a Japanese-inspired cocktail. As I mentioned earlier, the Japanese also love their cherry blossoms. So again, we are starting with a shaker, loaded it up with plenty of ice. Then we go in with 2.5 ounces of sake. Next we add half an ounce of dry gin. Then I modded the recipe a little bit. It called for just half an ounce of cherry blossom vodka, but I felt it wouldn't show up enough, so I'm bumping it up to a full ounce. Next, a full spoon of our blossom syrup, and then a few drops of that saline solution. Same process as before. We stir, stir, stir until we know it's very cold. And then strain into a pretty glass. Or any glass, really. And maybe we gild the lily a little bit with some of those flowers. Very nice. I will say though, the sake is the prominent flavor here, and the blossom vodka just sort of blends into the fruity nuttiness of the sake, which is nice in its own way. But if you are most interested in the taste of the blossom vodka, I'd go for the first cocktail. Now, alcohol is not entirely necessary to enjoy this seasonal specialty. Let's throw together something simple and delicious, a cherry blossom lemonade-spritz. Get a glass. Load it with ice. Give yourself a good couple ounces of lemon juice, a good glug of our cherry blossom syrup, and then top off with some seltzer, or in this case, sparkling lemon water. Then we just need a classic garnish, and we are good to go. Super refreshing. And there you have it, a very easy way to preserve the taste of a short-lived season. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed looking at a few different ways to use cherry blossoms. And for the record, there are so many other ways to play with these flowers, and plenty of variations of drinks that you can come up with as you follow your instincts and your taste buds. If you enjoyed this video and the recipes featured, please do me a favor and click the thumbs up button at the bottom of the video player, and make it a double favor while you're at it and hit subscribe. If you're new to Cooking with Tristan, as mentioned, I normally do cooking videos, but good food calls for good drinks, so I like to celebrate that part of the culinary world as well when I can. And of course it's great to hear from people all over the world or answer any questions, so don't be shy in the comment section. As for now, I'm getting back to enjoying the spring fever. And until next time, cheers!